we're gonna go over the function or functions in dictionaries. Okay, so a dictionary, their key and value pairs separated by colons, and they're inside curly brackets. So if we wanted like a Spanish to English dictionary, we'd put a curly bracket, and then we say like uno, and then :1. So uno, whatever's on the left side of that colon, that's a key, and on the right side is a value. So we put uno, then we did a colon, and then 1. So uno equals 1, and then dos is 2, and so on and so forth, so on and so forth. So if we wanted to print the dictionary, we can just say print and then that dictionary name. So we get everything in the dictionary. So we get like uno. So it's like with all the syntax inside. So if we wanted to print the dictionary with the key in square brackets, print its value. So if we said, we put the dictionary name and then the key name inside. So if we said print Spanish to English and then uno inside, which is the key name, it should print 1. So if we did a for loop on a dictionary, we did for loop in Spanish to English, and then print loop, it would only print the key. So if we did Spanish to English, if we did a loop on that again, but then we said Spanish to English loop, so loop would be each key, right? So over here, we said if we put the key name inside, we'd get the value. So if we said Spanish to English and then loop, which is the key name, we get each value of each loop. So we say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then if we said loop, comma, Spanish to English loop, we get each key and value pair inside it, and then printed on each line. So if we wanted to update a key and value pair, we have to say the dictionary name, and then inside the key name equals that new value. So if we want to say Spanish to English ocho, that's the key name, equals 8. And if we wanted to print it, so now we updated it, but then added a new key called ocho, and then made that equal to 8. So here, when we printed it, we have a new key and value pair called ocho, and that's equal to 8. And then if we wanted to delete a key and value pair, we have to use the delete key, which is DEL, and then that dictionary name, and then the key name. So if we said delete, and then Spanish to English, and then uno, this key and value pair, uno and 1, should be deleted. So if we print that, it'll be removed and then print the rest. Do you guys have any questions on the dictionary? Okay, so now we're gonna go over a function. So remember like the print function and the input function? Well, we can now make our own functions. So it's like a created command, and when called can perform any action you give it. So the syntax for it, we would say def. So we're defining a function, and then we give the function name, and then we can put an argument inside it, but that's optional. And then inside we put a statement. So the syntax to call a function. So this is creating a function, and then if we want the function to like operate, we have to call it. So we'd say function name, and then in parentheses the value of the argument. But if we didn't give an argument for that function name, we'd say just function name and then empty parentheses. So if we had a function with no arguments, so we said def and then my function. So my function, that's the name of the function, and we're defining the function here. Then we put a colon, and then we tab, and then say print hello. We can do anything inside here. So we'd say print hello, print what's your name, and then we can get the names input, and then time.sleep1, and then print name. So this function will just get your name, and then wait a second, and then print it. And then here we call the function. So if we didn't have this function call over here, then the function won't start. So if we run it, it'll print hello, and then say what's your name, and then I put Bob, and then we'll wait a second, and then print Bob again. So the purpose of the function, instead of like repeating all of these lines again and again, you can just call this function multiple times and then save a bunch of lines. So if you wanted to do like a function with an argument, you could say for example, here, we called this mean. It takes in 3 numbers. So number 1, number 2, and number 3. So we said average equals number 1 plus number 2 plus number 3 divided by 3. And then we print the average. So when we call the function, inside the parentheses, we give a value to each of these arguments. So 5 equals number 1 here, and then 4 equals number 2, and then 8 equals number 3. So then in average, we'll do 5 plus 4 plus 8 divided by 3, and then print that. So then we got 5 2/3 over here. So if we want, so here we did a print statement at the end, and then it just outputted the variable which we saved. But instead, we can use a function called return. So you can store that output of a function in a variable. So here we did def mean equals def mean, and then the arguments are num1, num2, and num3. And then we said the average equals num1 plus num2 plus num3 divided by 3. But this time we said return average. So here we stored the mean function inside a variable called x, and then another one in a variable called y. But here we just called it instead of storing it in a variable because we had a print function. But now we use a return statement, and we can store the answer or the output to this function in a variable called x and y, or anything you want to name it. So now we can print the output because we stored it in a variable using the return function. So now if we print it, we can just print the output of that function. So if we did def mean, same thing, and return average, but instead just put mean and then that, it won't return anything because this return statement, only if we put a variable and then make it equal to that mean function and then print it, then only we'd get an output from that function. Do you guys have any questions on the function? Okay, so we're going to do some practice problems now. So for number 1, create, or there should be dictionary. I don't know why that's the list. Let me change that. Okay, so create a dictionary of 5 names and their age, and then using a for loop, print each name and their age.
Mr. Adish, could you post this thing on Google Class, since I could just look back at the slides to make sure.
Let me put it in the lesson. It's in lesson 5. Okay, I added it to the Google Classroom. So try out this problem, create a dictionary of 5 names and then their age, and then using a for loop, print each name and their age. I'll go over the answer now. So we created a dictionary called people, and I just said name 1, 5, name 2, 6, name 3, 7, name 4, 8, name 5, 9. So name 1 is 5 years old, name 2, 6, name 3, 7, so on. So we did for loop in people, and then we printed loop. So printing loop would print name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, and name 5. And then we said people, that's the list name, and then loop. So it would be people, and then loop could be name 1, name 2, name 3, name 4, and name 5. So that would print 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So then we'll print name 1, 5, name 2, 6, and so on. So number 2, I'll give you a bit more time because it's pretty difficult, I'd say. Not that difficult, but it says make a dictionary with 5 people's names and their passwords. Ask them for their name, and if their name is not in the list, print user not found. If their name is in the list, ask for their password. And if their password matches their name, print login success. If the password is wrong, print incorrect password. So to check if the name is in the dictionary, use the in or not in operator. I'll give you a while to finish this problem. I'll give you the answer now. So we have a dictionary called passwords, and then name 1, his password is name 1. Name 2, his password is name 2. Name 3, his password is name 3. Name 4, his password is name 4. And name 5, his password is name 5. So we ask them, give me your username, and then say username equals input. So we check if that username is in the passwords list. If it's in it, we print give me your password, or else we'd say print user not found. So if it's in passwords, we'd say give me your password, and then we'd say password equals input, and then we'd say if passwords and then user. So user is the key in this case, and then password should be the value. So we're saying if password user, so that's going to be a value. So if that value equals the password the user gave, then we'd print login success, or else we'd print login incorrect password. So for number 2 or 3, create a dictionary with keys of 4 fruits or vegetables, and their value is their color. And then ask the user what their favorite fruit is. If that fruit is in the dictionary, print the color of the fruit. And if it's not in the dictionary, print that you don't know that fruit. I'll use the in or not in operator again. Okay, I'll go over the answer now. So I called the dictionary fruits and veg, and then we said apple red, orange is orange, banana is yellow, broccoli is green. So we said print what is your favorite fruit, and then that fruit user equals input. And then if their input is in the dictionary, we'd print that value of their input. So fruits veg, that's the dictionary name. And then their input is the key name. So if we said that, it should give us the value of the key that the user inputted. And then, or else just say, I don't know what that fruit is. Number 4, create a function called addition that takes 2 arguments. Ask the user for 2 numbers and store them in separate variables. Call the function and use the user's 2 numbers as the argument's value. In the function addition, create a variable that takes those 2 arguments and adds them together, and then print those 2 arguments. Okay, I'll go over the answer. So I would create a function called addition, and then it takes 2 arguments, and then it's number 1 and number 2. So we said number 3 equals number 1 plus number 2, and then we'd print number 3. So we'd print, can I get a number? And then number 1 would be the user's input, and then we have to convert it into a float. Then we say print, can I get another number? And then number 2 is another input, and it's a float. And then we say addition number 1 and number 2, because number 1 was the user input and number 2 was also user input. So if we said like 5 and 4, then number 1 and number 2 would be 5 and 4, and number 3 would be 5 plus 4. And then we say print 5 plus 4, which is 9. So for number 5, create a function that randomly makes 5 random integers and then add it to an empty list called numbers. And then print that list in a function and call the function. Okay, I'll go over the answer. So first we had to import random, and then we created an empty list called numbers, and then we created a function called random with an extra n. So it says for loop in range 0 to 5, comma 1. So it'll repeat 5 times. Then we say a variable, we called it y, equals random.random 1, comma 20. And then we append that to the list called numbers, which say numbers.append y. So each time the list is done, it'll repeat itself, and then y will be a different number each time. So a different number will be appended to numbers, and then we print numbers, and then it will print the list numbers. So that's it for today.